finds a wanted poster in Sarah's belongings, alerting her to a wanted agent. She suggests Yorick run away to avoid being caught because of Sarah. But Yorick refuses to betray his friend, despite the fact that she's hiding something from them. That evening, Roxanne gathers her community for a celebratory event. At the very beginning, she tells the assembled people about Laura, one of the movement's members, whom Roxanne proudly calls Amazons. At first, everything seems very innocent. But in the midst of the celebration, Hera and her companions begin to realize that something strange is going on. Laura is first covered in earth, then lowered into a bathtub, and when she emerges, everyone begins calling her by her new name, Athena. Deciding that this is all extremely strange, Sam and Hera's friend, Trans, leave the hall. One of the movement's members catches up with him to warn him against conflict with Roxanne, but this only creates problems for the girl herself. She's called in for a talk. Jennifer reports that a search party has spotted Sarah and is preparing an ambush. The president begins to worry that the scouts will find her son. But by this point, Allison manages to persuade the boy to leave, and the pair disappear into the woods. Tensions mount. The trackers try to catch up with Yorick and Allison, but Sarah neutralizes the soldiers and destroys their radios, which are transmitting signals to the White House. That night, Nora is awakened by screams. Trying to remain quiet, she peers out of the room and sees a crowd of Amazons reprimanding the girl for talking to Sam. The smiling beauties turn out to be ruthless, but Nora decides not to interfere. She wants her daughter to be safe and is willing to accept the rules of the game for that. Sarah finds the van and the group continues on to San Francisco, despite Yorick and Allison's attempt to escape. This naturally creates discord within the group, and the agent no longer trusts their fellow travelers, leading to further trouble. Sarah falls asleep at the wheel, and the car veers off the road. After getting out, Allison tries to find Sarah, but she's not in the driver's seat. However, a convoy of military vehicles unrelated to the White House immediately appears nearby. Jennifer is informed of this incident, as well as the fact that a man was among the fugitives. While the president tries to divert suspicion from his son, he awakens in an unfamiliar house, sharing a bed with an equally unfamiliar woman. After climbing out of bed, the boy sets out to search for his monkey, but finds himself in the company of the people who brought him there. The inhabitants of the ranch where Yorick was taken turn out to be quite peaceful. However, they don't tell Yorick where his girlfriends have gone. Meanwhile, the girls wake up in a prison cell, completely confused about where they are or how to escape. Jennifer appeals to the surviving women of the town to agree to the evacuation and not cause a disturbance. In the crowd, the president spots a familiar face, Bet, his son's girlfriend, who has been in the hospital this entire time. While the president communicates with Bet, Kimberly continues to secretly agitate Regina to overthrow the imposter and take her place. Despite the friendly atmosphere, Yorick is not released. Instead, he's sent to the girl's cell to decide what to do with the prisoners next. Added to all this is the news that a new strain of flu has been discovered in Greece. Jennifer immediately jumps into action, but she's forced to solve another problem. Marla arrives at the command center to find out if the rumors about Yorick are true. The wait in the cell becomes so excruciating that Sarah and Yorick again begin to quarrel. But the couple's argument ends when the heavy door opens and one of the settlement's residents appears on the threshold. She informs the captives that a decision has been made regarding them. They are allowed to stay until Sarah recovers, after which they will be transported out of the city and continue their journey to San Francisco. Sam's hosts have already allocated a separate bedroom for her, but before passing out, she warns Yorick to be careful and not trust anyone. But Yorick is certain the agent is exaggerating the danger. The settlement turns out to be quite cheerful, and everyone seems very peaceful and kind. Moreover, they have plenty of food. They have electricity and running water, which have long been absent in other regions. Marla's grief is so overwhelming that she decides to end her suffering. Climbing to the roof, the widow of the former president of the country steps into the void, hoping to be reunited with her husband and sons. She leaves a note for her daughter, apologizing and wishing her to cope. Meanwhile, Bet returns to the city, not to her friend's apartment, as she told Jennifer, but to a truck with the rebels planning a raid on the White House. Kate, one of the Amazons, tries to leave the group, but Roxanne reminds her of the strict rules, shooting Runaway in the back. But Roxanne won't admit this to the other residents. She makes it look like the girl was attacked by nomads. And to prevent this from happening again, Roxanne sends everyone to intensive shooting practice. Furthermore, Roxanne plans to escort the guests out. Nora learns of this from one of the participants, and she rushes to the leader to beg her to let her and Mackenzie stay. No amount of persuasion works on Roxanne. She gives Nora a couple more days, after which the woman and her daughter must leave the commune. She recalls how she managed to find this place and create a community of Amazons. Since the first day, Roxanne has been the sole leader here. Nothing has changed since then. Roxanne continues to dictate her terms and convince the community's inhabitants that danger and death await them beyond its borders. She holds daily meetings where the participants are expected to recall all the vile deeds of men and reassure them that Roxanne is the only one who offers them safety. Sam is not allowed to attend these meetings, and he prepares to leave to take over the guest houses on the lakeshore and found his own commune. But Hira has fallen under Roxanne's influence. The girl isn't sure she wants to leave. Roxanne witnesses the friends' emotional conversation. She again begins to talk to Hira, convincing the girl that even a fake man couldn't talk to her like that. The couple eventually breaks up, and that night Roxanne sends Sam away, allowing him to take some food. In the morning, Roxanne doesn't tell Hira that she was the one who let Sam go, but she does everything she can to reassure the girl. She even throws a very masculine farewell party in Hira's honor. The celebration culminates in a noisy, cheerful party, attended by everyone except Nora. The woman fails to integrate into the group, and to take revenge, she sets fire to the mall while everyone is asleep. The Amazons manage to escape, but their supplies are destroyed. Nora pretends she had nothing to do with it. She disappears into the crowd, feigning grief. Pleased with her actions, Nora prepares for a nighttime escape. She goes into the woods to check her supplies, but on the riverbank she finds a police car wrecked with bodies. It becomes clear that Roxanne is not who she claims to be, and Nora decides to use this to her advantage. Finding a moment when they can be alone, Nora tells Roxanne about her discovery, and she promises to remain silent. But in exchange for privileges in the community, she and her daughter must always have better food, security, and a roof over their heads. But Nora offers more than just her silence as payment. She's willing to ensure that even after the devastation, the people won't abandon Roxanne, and she can remain the leader of the sorority. Roxanne agrees to Nora's terms. She gathers the people and delivers a powerful motivational speech, promising that they will overcome all difficulties and conquer the world. Sarah is recovering and even resumes training, but continues to be haunted by hallucinations and visions. Despite this, she keeps a close eye on Yorick, who seems to have let his guard down again and has placed too much trust in the villagers. Sarah's suspicions are heightened when one of the villagers pesters her about the tracking device found in the car. The girl refuses to reveal its identity, but she clearly doesn't want Yorick to discover it. On Roxanne's assignment, Hera finds another community, a group of women who have organized a memorial to the memory of men. Under the guise of good intentions and advocacy for women's rights, Roxanne organizes a raid on the community to steal food and other necessary items. The Amazons are unleashing pure hell on the residents of Memory City, but Noma realizes things aren't going according to plan. Instead of taking food and drinking water, the savages simply destroy it all, enjoying the process. Roxanne doesn't like this and tries to reason with her, but the deranged founder of the squad believes she's doing the right thing. Having fully recovered from her illness, Regina Oliver plans to overthrow Jennifer, and she orders her accomplices to be ready for the coup in 30 minutes. She turns to Kimberly for support, but after her mother's death, the girl loses her momentum and no longer wants to participate in the change. Meanwhile, Beatty's team plants a bomb under the government building. Jennifer is summoned to the command center by Brown to face charges of concealing information about Yuri. To protect her pregnant assistant, Jennifer is forced to admit that her son actually survived. She also explains that the boy was sent to the geneticist in the name of saving the world. But did he actually make it? No one knows. Even those who had sided with Jennifer the day before now side with Regina. They asked the imposter to step down and hand over power to the real president. But the discussion must be postponed, as an explosion rocks the building, and it's likely that unauthorized personnel have infiltrated it. The rebels break into the building, led by Bet. While making their way through the underground tunnels, they encounter politicians, and the presidential security team is forced to lay down their arms and surrender. Jennifer recognizes Bet despite her balaclava, but Bet manages to signal her to remain silent and not give her away. Regina's desire to be president vanishes as soon as danger appears. Therefore, Jennifer Brown must take on the responsibility of communicating with the rebels, responding to their demands. The rebels escort the hostages out of the control center so they can leave the building with them and avoid encountering the feral townspeople. And it's at this point that Regina finally begins to prove that the president is here, she's here, and everyone should listen only to her. In a fit of rage, she accuses everyone of betrayal, trying to make her friends, including Kimberly, the icing on the cake, claim that Jennifer Brown's son is alive. One of the rebels silences the hysterical woman with a bullet to the forehead. But this doesn't change what she's already said, and most importantly, it completely disrupts the group's plans. A prolonged stay in the settlement leads to a hunt for Yorick. The women are starved for male attention and would not mind spending time with a survivor. Taking advantage of her friend's busy schedule and Allison's making friends with the locals, Sarah disappears into the forest to destroy the sensor that has been transmitting her signal all this time. The rebels don't have time to get the hostages out of the building. The second enemy group releases tear gas through the ventilation system. Gunfire erupts in the hallways, panicked people scatter in all directions, and those who don't escape in time fall dead to the floor. Batycom removes Jennifer's handcuffs and tries to lead her away. The president doesn't have time to take his pregnant aide with him, but Kristen isn't left alone. Kimberly intercedes for her. The girls manage to make their way to the exit through the underground parking lot. Among personal belongings in the memorial village, Roxanne finds a notebook with the names of all the surviving men. Now the leader has a new goal: find them all and destroy them in order to liberate the planet. The Amazons decide to start with a young man they've seen before who now lives in a nearby village. Nora shows Roxanne his portrait, and it turns out, of course, it's Yorick Brown. Bet gives Jennifer her uniform, and before they part, the president tells her that Regina's words were true. Yorick is alive. Roxanne and Nora set off to search for the village where they suspect the surviving man lives. But as if sensing the imminent arrival of guests, Sarah urges the friends to move on. Yorick doesn't like the news of their departure, but he's not ready to argue with the agent. But it's unlikely the group will disappear in time. Roxanne has already found the estate and is preparing a detachment for an attack in the coming hours. During a meeting in Roxanne's camp, two nomads burst in, and from them, Hera learns of the president's death. Unaware that someone other than her mother was vying for the post, the girl thinks it's her. But in fact, Jennifer is alive. After mourning her daughter, she prepares to escape with Bet as the president can't remain in the city. She's been hunted for a long time. That night, Sam sneaks into Jennifer's house. Jennifer immediately recognizes her daughter's friend, and together they attempt to escape, but the house is surrounded. Christy and Kimberly find refuge in an empty barn. Waking early in the morning, Kimberly tells her friend that she knows how to save them all. They need Yorick to continue breeding, and Yorick apparently agrees, as he spends the night in bed with a village woman who has long had her eye on him. The idyll is shattered by the appearance of the Amazons, led by the mad Roxanne. They burst into the city street and demand the man be handed over to them. Sarah jumps out of bed at the sound of gunshots. She instructs Yorick's new girlfriend to escort the boy out, while she remains in the house to repel the attack. Realizing her opponent's numerical advantage, Sarah leaves with her hands raised, feigning fear of the guests. She brings a local trancer with her, passing him off as the man in question. A serious firefight breaks out on the main street. The sounds distract Sarah's convoy, and she disarms the enemy and escapes. Even little Mackenzie joins the fight, trying to prove to Roxanne that her place in the community is worthwhile. Meanwhile, Hera catches up with a group of fugitives. She fires at them until Yorick turns around. But upon recognizing her brother, Hera freezes, and Yorick's girlfriend fires a bullet at her, unaware that she is her boyfriend's sister. The wounded Hera manages to tell her brother about her mother's death and that the Amazons want to destroy him. She allows Yorick to leave, and to do so, she eliminates one of her fellow tribesmen. The firefight in the city is in full swing, but suddenly Nora raises her hands and steps into the center, declaring their surrender. This infuriates Roxanne, but no one cares anymore. Hera tells Nora that Yorick is alive. This gives the women strength, and returning to their camp, Nora decides to remove Roxanne, opening the eyes of the assembled girls. But talking has no effect. Roxanne continues to provoke Nora until she shoots her in the chest. The Amazons raise their weapons in surprise, but Nora finds comforting words for them. Hera stands beside her, shoulder to shoulder, and from that moment on, no new leader appears. Sarah walks several kilometers and finally finds Yorick and Allison. The boy is devastated by the loss of all his loved ones and no longer has a reason to live. Listening to her friend, Sarah admits that she understands him very well. She also lost her parents as a child. Sarah also tells Yorick that he can leave if he wants. She was Jennifer's subordinate, meaning that her death means their agreement is terminated. But Yorick refuses, asking Sarah to become his trainer so he can stop abusing her and protect himself. Meanwhile, Jennifer, Bet, and Sam find themselves locked in an empty room under surveillance. Unbeknownst to the group, they have been captured by Sarah, a Secret Service officer. Following a signal from Mike, Sarah leads the friends to a fueled vehicle. In addition to fuel, the vehicle contains all the necessary equipment for research and a map with a marked route.